gaming conspiracy theories. That is what we're going to be talking about today, okay? And understand this, when I mean by gaming conspiracy theories, I mean everything from the identity of the Strange Man from RDR1 and RDR2 to video games are being promoted to get everybody ready for a potential global conflict, because if we know how to operate any weaponry from like a COD lobby, that's immediately going to be applicable in a battlefield. Everything from that to this, that is what we're going to be covering in this video. And I'm going to be honest with you, bro. This was meant to be, like, I was going to cover, like, maybe 5. This is going to be a very long video, my man. We're going to be going through, I'm going to say this again, everything from the Game of the Year awards being rigged year after year after year, to do video games actually make you more violent, to Fallout and Elder Scrolls are within the same universe. Again, if you enjoy this video, please consider like, comment, and subscribe. If you can get this to 3,000 likes, I will do a volume 2 of this very similar series. And I'm going to be honest with you, I really hope it does. I'm actually kind of hyped to be able to do this, okay? Again, like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to stay notified. We try to upload at least 3 to 4 times a week. We're going live on Ethan on Live. Link is in the description down below. And with all that out of the way, let's get into the video. Let's go. COD and Battlefield are military recruitment tools. I'm gonna be so for real with you, bro. This one is kind of a no-brainer, but I don't think it's as malicious as you guys think. Because I'm just gonna be so for real with you, bro. Like, of course, like, to a certain extent, 100%. I mean, like, the U.S. military does have some level of, like, help that gets credited to them in every single COD game and Battlefield game, okay? Even, like, in the copyright system, like, there are certain patents that are held by the U.S. military that they do have to go to them to get, like, to even talk about it. Like, oh my goodness, bro. Like, it's kind of like people getting really pressed when they find out, oh my goodness, COD had to reach an agreement with like, firearm manufacturers. And it's like, yes, because it's also, like, copyrighted names. Like, of course they would, okay? Do I think that COD games are only popular and Battlefield games are only popular because the U.S. military wills it to be so? No, bro. They just are pretty well-made games. And I'm sorry, you are kind of glossing over, like, the initial COD and Battlefield run that was in our childhood. Like, no, those games were just good, okay? The depths of this conspiracy states that the entirety of COD becoming popular at all is because the military pushed it and that these games were never really that good. And to that I would say no. 2 things can be true. These games can be absolutely amazing, but they can also be recruitment tools. Like, 2 of those things, it's not a mutually exclusive thing. Like, you can enjoy these games, but also recognize that that's probably part of the reason that, like, they do get, like, as big a budget as they do. Or maybe, I don't know, they just make a lot of money, okay? There's actually a really interesting idea. Like, if you're gonna go to, like, the history of, like, how the U.S. military, like, tries to do, like, recruiting of the youth, one thing that that doesn't get talked about enough is that the U.S. military historically does it a little bit different than other countries. What we tend to do is we look at, like, what is the most popular thing in the youth today, and then we create a weapon system around that. One of the greatest examples of this ever is that we redesigned the grenade to be as similar to a baseball as we possibly could. We got rid of, like, the hand grenade that was like a torch-looking thing, and we replaced it with essentially what is the modern incarnation of what a grenade is for WW2, and we made it the same size and weight as a baseball. You want to know why? Because a lot of the American youth was really good at throwing baseballs, okay? Now you take it to now, okay? You look at drones. There's a reason why most of, like, the way that you can control drones, you can get on like a Steam game and learn how to do it in, like, 30 minutes. Why do you think a lot of, like, Reaper drones can be controlled with an Xbox controller? I'm not kidding you. A Reaper drone can be controlled with an Xbox controller. Okay, and then you're getting into, like, modern day stuff. Like, brother, I saw, like, the guy, like, this, I think it was, like, one of the owners of Anduril, which is, like, an arms dealing company, went on, like, the JRE, and he's talking about how, like, oh yeah, bro, we actually look at video games to try to make weapons around it. Yeah, that's kind of how it works, okay? Like, dude, he was talking about how he wants to bring aimbot to actual warfare, and that's one of the funniest and scariest things I've ever heard. How they want to make like a Marine Corps UI where it'll show your objective in, like, a map I'm sorry, like, that's scary, but that's also really cool. I think it's like one of those arguments of like what came first, the chicken or the egg. I think that, yes, the military uses a lot of like COD games to recruit people, but I also think they make weapon systems inspired of what COD creates and in together that kind of feeds everything around. And I kind of get it. I think there is some truth to it. I do. Do I think it's 100% true? No. I think there is some truth in it, though. Games make people more violent. Shut up, boomer! Oh my gosh, bro. I have to deal with this debate every single time I talk with anybody that's even slightly close to the boomer generation. Oh yeah, them video games make you more violent. There is no one! There is no stat, there is no analytic, there is no number that even remotely proves this to be true. There is not one that proves this to be true. Oh my goodness. Fun fact. There's actually more evidence that video games have made people more passive and have made people way less violent. Because you'll hear this argument being like, oh, well, like this guy decided that he was going to take over an Uber driver's car because he saw it in GTA. Yeah, he was also insane. He was also a crazy person. You think he wasn't gonna do something? Like, yeah, bro, I think if you have a very loose grip on reality, yeah, maybe don't let him play a video game like that. Maybe don't do that. Maybe don't put those ideas in his mind. But this idea that, like, books can't also do the same exact thing, that movies can't do the same exact thing. Oh, no. And here's my easiest way to completely debunk this. All of the worst things ever were done before the creation of Pac-Man. I'm sorry, bro. Like, you can look through. They're like, every single crime stat we have available actually proves the opposite. Games actually make people more passive because it creates a zone for them to put out all of, like, that negative and anger into. Oh, well, maybe they should have a better way of dealing with it. Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you for... Oh my, you can tell I've had this debate enough at these family gatherings with like, Aunt Patricia! Oh my goodness, you let them play video games? Oh my gosh, that makes them so violent. Aunt Patricia, my cousin's practically feral, biting through your damn leg. That's him. He chewed through his iPad. Well, look at my little angel. I can't. I only let them play educational games on Roblox. I can't. Brother, the COD lobbies are unironically probably safer than a Roblox lobby for a 5-year-old, bro. Oh, I hate that. It's so dumb. There's nonsense, actually. There's no evidence. There's none. Well, I found this one stat that proves this, brother. Overwhelmingly, you're actually living in one of the least violent times ever. Okay? You are. Games have actually made people more passive and less violent if you're gonna look at the actual statistics. I'm sorry, bro. No, not really. Well, what makes you so aggressive? Nonsense! Nonsense, bro! I'm sorry. Get out of here. $70 games are a scam. Yes. Oh my gosh, bro. You can get me going. Let me unbutton the flannel a little bit, bro, because I was getting heated in that last one, my man. Dude, $70 games are such a hilariously obvious scam when you look at it through the eyes of, wait a minute. So your argument is that you have to make them $70 games because it takes $10 more to develop a current or next-gen experience, okay? Never mind the fact PS5 is not next-gen anymore. PS5 is current-gen and is actually closer to last-gen than anything. Okay, fine. Any game that is made for the PS5 can be $70. Well, it can run on a PS4. If it can run on a PS4, it is not a current-gen game. Could you imagine if a game was made today and they were like, oh yeah, dude, this game can run on the PS4, the PS3, and the PS5. That'll be $70 for this current-gen gaming experience. No, it's not, though. Like, it's not. Like, no. That's a PS3 game that has a port to the PS5. Any game that can run on a PS4 is, by definition, not a game that was developed solely for the current-gen gaming experience, dude. It's just not. Like, that's such a dumb argument that I get heard with, well, the price of development. Yeah, games also make more money than they ever have. Like, stop it, bro. You guys are also cutting corners using AI to develop it. Like, come on, like... Bro, you want to hear my controversial take? People would be okay with AI in gaming development if it actually decreased the cost. Could you imagine if in the future that if they said or disclosed that their game was made during AI, their games were capped at $30? Brother, I'm sorry, people would be buying up them $30 games like that. Like that. Like AAA games would actually make a resurgence if they made all their games $30 with all the labor that they were able to cut out, bro. But $70 games are completely a scam. Dude, and I remember there was a time where people would get the PS4 version and then just get the free PS5 upgrade. And here's the thing. Do you know what they did to get past that? They just started charging PS4 games $70. Brother, I remember it was the COD Black Ops 6. It was the cross-generation bundle. They charged you extra to get the PS4 bundle and the PS4 version, and they called it the cross-gen bundle. Because, yeah, it could go on a PS4 and a PS5. So you charged me $70 for a PS4 game is what I'm gathering here. Yes, okay. It's a scam. It completely is. It only takes one. You have other like big gaming developers that are actively saying we're waiting on Rockstar to do GTA 6. And if they do a $100 game, then they will make all their games $100. Well, actually, if you adjust for inflation, games will be $88. Do it then, Ubisoft. Do it! Do it then! Make all your games $80. Make all your games $100. Do it. Let's see who buys it. Okay? If every game was $80, I promise you, the games that are gonna be bought are not gonna be you, buddy. Absolutely not. Get out of here, dude. The audacity is absurd. Games are big on purpose. Now, let me explain this really quick, because I tried to come up with a name for this section a couple times. Okay, so you ever heard of the idea that games are made not to be optimized on purpose? That way, their size for their storage is intentionally way bigger than it should be, and thus will keep you from playing other games? Well, that's what this conspiracy is, okay? You ever try to download Warzone, and it's 250 gigs? Over half of the storage of your PS5? By the way, your standard PS5, it's only 500 gigabytes. 250 gigs? So they've intentionally made it so you can only really have like maybe 5 games on your PS5. And that way it limits you to the games that you can really play. And that would be COD as your central multiplayer, maybe Fortnite here and there, and like one other game. That is the groundwork of this conspiracy. And I'm going to be honest with you, bro. I used to think this one was crazy and being like, oh, well, they're doing this because their games are just that big and they're trying their best. 250 gigabytes for Warzone is actually absurd. Oh, well, you can pick and choose where you want to be downloaded. No, bro. A lot of the reason that the storage is so crazy is that all of the files are so hilariously unoptimized that it just, it's such an overinflated bag of garbage that the vast majority of it is like texture packs that you'll never use or like skins that you'll never use. Like, they should make an option where I can refuse to download all of the skin assets and everybody has the same skin. But you want to know why they're not going to do that? Because that chips into their bottom line. Because everybody wants to see Beavis and Butthead walking around Warzone. Amazing, bro. This one is probably true, but I don't think it started out like that. I think it turned into that. I'm going to put it in probably true. Herobrine is Knotz's brother. No. No. Dude, Herobrine has got to be one of the funniest gaming conspiracies of all time because this legitimately has took on like its own cultural identity. Brother, if you had the same childhood as me, you were watching Diamond Minecart and Sky Does Minecraft do the I Summoned Herobrine mod showcase. That's insane ball knowledge, bro. Some of y'all are like, he saw me. We live the same life. Yeah, we did, dude. That was one of my favorite, that was the YouTube videos I watched as a kid, my man. And going back and watching like the original video of like the Herobrine. And first off, the original Herobrine video is legitimately like good YouTube horror. Like it is really well done. It's like a good found footage Minecraft type of feel. I really do dig it. And then that turned into, oh, well, if you make your character Herobrine, your eyes turn white. No, that's not true. That's not true. That was a mod. They just fooled you. Oh, well, I mean, like, maybe Herobrine was a developer that got lost along the way. No, he wasn't. Maybe Herobrine is Knotz's brother, and Knotz is actually programmed him into the game, and it's his spirit that possessed it. And then Knotz is like, I don't even have a brother. What type of name is Herobrine, by the way? To the point where, like, brother, they're going to make a Minecraft sequel to the Minecraft movie, and Herobrine's going to be the main villain played by Tom Holland. That's where I think we're going with this. But brother, the Herobrine conspiracy is nonsense, but it's like succulent nonsense, my man. Delicious, beautiful nonsense. Gotta put it in my back pocket as a snack for later, my man. Fallout and Elder Scrolls are in the same universe. Probably not, but I think they are in the same, like, multiverse, okay? And I know that sounds like, huh? Okay, the gist of this conspiracy is that you can actually find Nirnroot within Fallout 3, and Nirnroot's actually part of, like, the Elder Scrolls lore and as an item and cropping those. And the idea behind this is that Elder Scrolls is a sequel far, far in the future, and it takes place millions upon millions of years into the future, with continental drift basically turning the entirety of what would be modern day, like, Earth into essentially like what would become Nirn. And a lot of like the mythologies that exist actually do exist within the Fallout universe, because fun fact, there is Lovecraftian deities within the Fallout universe. Like there is a lot of implications of some higher power, okay? And a lot of this is like a mistranslation of what did exist, and magic is something that's always been kind of underlying within the verse of this, and a lot of like these ancient like dwarven artifacts are actually like machinery from like a fallen world of man. I don't believe in all of that. I do believe it's in the same multiverse. Why? Vault-Tec is canonically in the Doomverse. Vault-Tec actually was a subservient company to the UAC within the universe of Doom. That's real, by the way, okay? But Doom Guy is essentially like a multiversal entity that can go throughout universes, and Hell works as like a bear, like the bedrock of reality throughout all there. So the idea is that Oblivion is like one of the universes that leads off what would be like Hell inside of the Doom universe, and that you have Fallout, you have Skyrim, and then you have Doom over here, and they all have like some threads that are kind of related to each other, but it's like a multiverse type of deal. That's where I think it is. I think there is a connection somewhat, but I don't think it's that big of a connection. Does that make sense? I'm going to put this there, and this sounds like a game theory video right now, but I'm going to put it in a solid mid-tier maybe. AAA gaming is going to collapse. This is a conspiracy saying that a lot of the collapse that's going on with a lot of these companies that are like getting rid of developers, laying off workers, getting rid of IP, is that AAA gaming is having a silent bubble burst right now, and they don't want to go full public with it because that would scare off a lot of shareholders that just bought up a lot of these companies. That's partly why EA got bought for a couple $1 billion. Ubisoft is going downhill quickly, and it's actually most AAA gaming devs because, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know how y'all are making a profit at all. And it's kind of sad because what ended up happening is that there was a time where the more developers that you had, the better the game was, and that was like the indicative quality of how a game could be. And then we move into like the modern day and age of gaming development where like you can replicate a lot of what developers do to like a smaller group of people because software to develop video games has become way more accessible, and indie games are taking over slowly but surely. Okay, and then you have a lot of these big AAA gaming devs that are silently freaking out about it, and they're downsizing to become more like indie developers. You have Xbox essentially just quitting. I'm going to be real. I think this one is like a probably true. It's not outright confirmed, but I do believe AAA gaming is... I think they're done. I think we are moving in an area where you're going to get a lot of smaller indie devs, and I think that's just going to be the case moving forward. The Lavender Town Syndrome. So the idea is that there was a Pokemon game that released during the 1990s, and that there was a section in that game called Lavender Town. And Lavender Town had an audio that would cause people to have psychological breaks. Not just psychological breaks. It would cause people to either get depressed, different types of emotions, and if worst case scenario, Minecraft save quitting. And here's the truth, bro. If you actually go down the rabbit hole, Japan was having this problem in the 1990s, and Lavender Town was kind of seen as like an explanation of why this was happening. Like, if you really want to go down this, like, no, Japan has had a lot of very weird, like, cultural moments within the past, like, couple of decades that kind of get brushed under the rug because, well, it's Japan. Tokyo lives in 2050. When you realize culturally, Japan is in a really weird spot right now, and if you really want to go into historically, Japan has been in a weird spot ever since the end of WW2. Like, they literally had to redo the entirety of their culture operates from, like, an imperialistic state into, like, we have anime! So, like, yeah, there probably is some underlying issues that would pertain to the youth, and Lavender Town was seen as a way of like, oh yeah, well, this is actually the reason. And it's really sad. I'm gonna put Lavender Town Syndrome into, there's probably some truth in it, but that's for another day, my man. Game reviewers are dishonest and paid for. I'm gonna be real here. Do I think that's the case? No. I don't think they're directly receiving money. I don't think that's the case. But I think they are so scared at having a take that can be perceived in any type of unflattering way to the point that they will just not have any real take and they won't stand on business at all. Dragon Age Veilguard being a 9 out of 10. I'm sorry, bro. You want to hear my, like, allegation? I think they're scared at being perceived in any negative way politically, that they saw Dragon Age Veilguard as, like, something that they really couldn't go after. I'm gonna be so that's the only way that makes sense to me. It is. Veilguard being a 9 is crazy. I don't think it's like the worst game ever made. I think it's like a 7. But like a 7 to me is like average, okay? And for other of you, that's like 5. A 9 is almost perfection. A 9 out of 10 is what I gave Expedition 33. That's absurd to me, dude. That's crazy. The only way that I can think about that, and this applies to like TV shows and other stuff that they rank, like She-Hulk, giving it an 8, by the way. I'm sorry, a lot of that probably is that they're so scared of getting into like an argument or like any type of beef that they will take the absolute safest position of all time, but they'll go at things that aren't as politically charged, like the Invincible season finale, and give it like a 5 out of 10 because it's already loved. We can kind of go hard and we can rage bait. Like, no, if you actually look into it, brother, like, all these big gaming developers will give, like, an IP a really, like, a lower score and, like, almost like a completely different rubric because they know they're not going to get into a lot of controversy if they rage bait. But stuff that even has the slightest of political charge at all, they will go so softball, it's absolutely hilarious, okay? And I'm sorry, bro. I don't think they're receiving money. I think they're just so scared of criticism that they go so soft that, like, everything gets a 7. I'm putting this in maybe, but, like, actually some truth. I think some truth is a fair placement for this. The identity of the strange man from RDR. I'm going to be real with you. No, I don't think he's the devil. I don't think he's Judge Holden. Anybody who says the strange man from Red Dead Redemption is like Judge Holden never even remotely looked in the Blood Meridian, okay? So, to catch you up on this, in RDR1 and somewhat in RDR2, but it's mostly RDR1, Marston can meet a strange gentleman that wears a top hat, has a nice mustache, that proceeds to know some weird stuff about the future. There's a moment that he talks about, like, this area has a really great view, and you find out that's where Marston gets buried by the end of the game. He starts making allusions to, like, hey, you're probably not going to live that long. Hey, you're going to have to take destiny in your own hands, but, you know, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And then Marston loses his patience, draws weapons on him, and starts firing a few shots, and it completely phases through him and nothing happens. I think the strange man, if he is a real thing and not Marston legitimately hallucinating, but let's go paranormal, I think he is meant to be the personification of death. If anything, probably like an avatar of like a Grim Reaper. The way that he acts is not in an evil, a malicious, not a temptress type of way. He is very much just like a, hey, you're not gonna make it, this is how it's gonna go. But I find myself kind of intrigued by your story, so I'm going to talk to you really quick. And that this strange person, the stranger, is actually viewing the entire story of RDR1 and RDR2 the same way that we are, and he wants to talk to John Marston one more time before he doesn't make it. And he's giving him, like, hey, just so you know, this is a pretty good place to be buried, my man. Because he's slightly intrigued by this. There's also moments in, like, he basically is able to make poems about the journey of Arthur Morgan. And it's such a cool thing because he's, like, slightly intrigued by the characters that we play in the RDR series. And I don't think he's the devil. I don't think he is. I think... if he is, I think the representation that they're trying to make is that man is more evil than the devil is, and all the devil's trying to do right now is just, like literally just view how evil we can be. But I don't think that's the case. I think he's meant to be the most moral gray, the most in the middle, because morality doesn't really apply to him because he is nothing but a force of nature. And he catalogs and looks at all the moral things that we do because he's ultimately going to be viewed not as a judge, but as somebody that is going to be the caretaker of souls into an afterlife. And I think, honestly, bro, I think he's probably the Grim Reaper. I'm going to put it, this is a true thing, but like, actually, probably the Grim Reaper. Probably the Grim Reaper. Elder Scrolls 6 has not been developing this entire time. I think Elder Scrolls 6, now this is where I'm going to put my conspiracy head on. I think they've had to restart development on Elder Scrolls 6 multiple times. I think the creation engine is probably so bad to be used as a development tool that if they haven't switched it out, they have had to practically rebuild it from the ground up for it to run, to develop Elder Scrolls 6 on any type of modern gaming anything. Now, do I think they're using Unreal, and do I think they're going to be using Unreal Engine? I'm going to be real. At this point, I hope. Let's say the conspiracy is they're using Unreal Engine and they've had to start gaming development basically from ground zero, but they have a bunch of concepts that they can sensibly make, and they're just remaking the game in Unreal Engine. I don't know if it's that far, but I do believe that they've had to restart development multiple times, and do I think they used a completely different engine at this point in development, and we're going to be seeing it relatively soon, but the reason we haven't seen any gameplay for it is because there isn't any gameplay for it in its current state? Maybe. I'm going to put it in the maybe, dude. I'm going to put it right there. I think that's a fair placement. The console wars were better, and corporations they're just lying. Let's put console wars right there as the text, okay? I actually believe in this. I think part of the reason that you get a lot of, like, this propaganda that the console wars were always bad has to be some level of, like, corporate propaganda. I'm sorry, bro. No, the console wars were the best time for video games. When Xbox and PlayStation actually had to compete with each other, and this goes from, like, PlayStation 2 to PS3 to PS4. That moment in gaming was the best of all time. You had the entirety of the Halo trilogy, you had Gears of War, you had all these games going band for band for band for band, and everybody was trying their best to get your money because at that point in gaming, they did have to compete for who was going to sell the most consoles. I think at that point, dude, I'm sorry, brother, y'all forget PS3 had free online to compete with Xbox 360. I'm not kidding. Xbox 360 had Xbox Live that you had to pay for, and it was the PS3 that was free to game on, so a lot of people got a PS3 to game for free. Dude, I'm sorry. I do believe part of the reason that so many people, I was like, I'm just so glad the console wars are over. Either you fundamentally don't understand that competition is better for the consumer, and if there is no competition at all, they can effectively do whatever they want. And if modern gaming is not an easy enough example for you to understand this, it's kind of pointless to debate this with you, dude. I'm sorry. The console wars were some of the best things to ever happen to gaming. Were there some cringe aspects of it, though? 100%. All around, it was better for gaming. And I'm going to put this, honestly, bro, true. PC gaming is going to go extinct. Yeah, bro, dude, okay. Let me tell you what this whole conspiracy is. It has AI, Jeff Bezos, it has all of this, okay? Do you remember when Google was trying to get into the gaming market and they had cloud gaming and everybody laughed at that idea? Cloud gaming's going to be very big in the future, and part of the reason is that it is literally a corporate gaming's, like, giant's wet dream, dude. You can't pirate it, you can't really mod it, you don't own your game, and everything is being hosted on a server far, far away from you that they have complete control over. Now you're getting into AI making RAM prices way more expensive, graphics cards. It's essentially going to be gatekeeping the entirety of PC gaming. You go ahead a couple years, I think PC gaming and owning your own PC is going to be seen as like a super boozy thing. That's going to be viewed as like, oh my goodness, you have your own PC? That's crazy, dude. That's absurd. Because what I think is going to happen in the future is that you aren't going to be having your own gaming PC. You're going to essentially going to be like a bare bones PC that can connect to a server that you can rent a digital PC from like Amazon or something. I think that is the where they want to go, and you're not even going to own your own gaming PC. But the way that you can easily get around that is just buy a gaming PC right now. I'm sorry, buy one right now, get away from console, and get your own gaming PC at this moment right now, my man. I'm sorry. I've been buying up RAM forever, bro. I'm set. I'm going to put this, honestly, dude, in like a, I think this is true. Personally, I do believe this is true. The Game of the Year awards are rigged. I don't think so, dude. I think what it is that a lot of behind the scenes when they're trying to pick a Game of the Year is so hilariously subjective because they don't want to do like a Gamer Choice Award. No, like the Game of the Year being Gamer's Choice, and I agree with them because then Genshin Impact would win literally every single year. And I'm gonna be so for real with you, dude. I just wish they were more public about their rubric. I think what they take into account is the storyline of if this game wins. Like, I'll be honest, like, I think part of the reason that God of War beat RDR 2 was for the storyline of, like, RDR robbed God of War back when RDR 1 came out. So they want to create this storyline where, like, God of War 4 was able to beat out Red Dead Redemption 2, and that completes the... Like, no, I legitimately am starting to get to the point where I'm beginning to think that. Because there's so many games where I'm like, how did that win, though? Like, how did that win? Like, if everything's subjective, then every game that gets nominated can win Game of the Year. Like, real talk, like, I'm starting to think that, my man. I don't think that they're getting given money. I just think Sony's probably one of the best gaming developers there is. At this point, like, probably. If you're comparing Sony to, like, Nintendo, because I'll hear this argument being like, well, Nintendo pays off the Game of the Year awards. No, they're not. They just make good games for their console. Okay, that's what I think it is. Now, personally, I think if you make a game only for your console, I think that should be a point against you. I think you should be able to make that playable on some type of other way, like even like a PC. People get on like PlayStation for having exclusivity, even though it doesn't really have exclusivity anymore. It's literally just Nintendo at this point, my man. But regardless, no, I just think Nintendo and Sony are probably some of the best gaming developers there is. And actually, if you're going off like Game of the Year nominations, Sony actually does beat out Nintendo for like the past, like I think it's like the past decade. Sony has more Game of the Year nominations than Nintendo does. And I'll just be real, I think they just are really good at developing games. But I think one of the rubrics that they bring up is like, what will this do to broader gaming? I really do. I think that might be, like 1 point is like, well, if this one wins, what does this mean for gaming? Like, what's going to be the storyline? I think they take storyline into account. I'm going to put this in, I don't think they're receiving money. I think that's nonsense, but I just think they have a really weird rubric. Rockstar is lying about GTA 6. I think this is true to a certain extent. Now, do I go as far to say that GTA 6 is completely finished and that they're holding it for later? No. But I do believe back when Rockstar was saying that they let go of some leakers that were working on Rockstar, I think they just were getting rid of union leaders. I really do believe that. I think Rockstar, like, is so scared that people in the development sphere of GTA 6 are going to start unionizing, because that would actually mess up Rockstar, that they are going to purge a lot of the people that are going to try to do that and just replace them. Because if you look into, like, when GTA 6 was getting rid of, like, some employees, they said they were leaking information, but in reality, what I think was happening is that they were getting worried that a lot of them were going to unionize, so what do? You fire some people, and then you get people kind of scared for their jobs and their livelihoods. Like, Rockstar is not a super moral gaming developer. They are just really good at business, and they aren't going to play about unionizing in GTA 6. I think Rockstar's 100% lying about aspects of GTA 6's development, but I'm going to put it in a probably of how far it goes. I don't think GTA 6 is completely done, though. I'm going to put it in probably. Half-Life 3 is ready to go. They're just waiting to release it. They have to, though. Like, I don't even have any, like, real proof for this one, but, like, oh my goodness, bro. Half-Life 3 is a game that 100% should be made at this point, and I think Half-Life, like, is it going to be a launch title for, like, the Steam machine? Like, is that what they're going to do? That's the only thing that kind of makes sense to me. Like, I understand, like, that Steam is, like, Valve and Steam are, like, the biggest, like, corporate monopoly that's, like, really good, and they own the entirety of PC, like, gaming. But, like, bro, Half-Life 3 would do insanely well, especially if you release your own console, well, not console, but your own gaming PC, essentially. Like, it's a no-brainer, but at the same time, they've had so many opportunities to release their game that I don't even know if it'll ever come out. I'm going to put this in a maybe, but I'll let the Half-Life 3 copers talk about it. I'm going to put it right there, though. Skill-based matchmaking. Okay, skill-based matchmaking 100% is a thing. What the idea is that it's tweaked in different ways that you think, like skill-based damage, skill-based aimbot, Do I think they're that far with it? No. I do think that skill-based matchmaking is inherently flawed because I think it's... No. I think skill-based matchmaking is a really good idea, but the systems that they use for skill-based matchmaking is very, very flawed. Because it's so finicky where you can play in a lobby of absolute homunculi that are absolutely awful at the game and you're dropping like triple doubles. And then the very next game you're playing against people in esports. And I will agree with this. I think when you're looking at competitive games, there is a point where the game's really good, and then the sweatification of its player base turns everybody into a wannabe Twitch streamer. And I think that ruins these games. I think that ruins a large portion of these competitive games when everybody wants to be super competitive. When people look at like old COD games, I don't think it's the fact that there was no skill-based matchmaking. Because like Fortnite has skill-based matchmaking and it's pretty well done. But I think skill-based matchmaking becomes better the more people that you have that are on the casual side of it. And Fortnite inherently is going to do it better because most of the people that play Fortnite are children and they're just bad at the game. And thus, the sweaty corner of their gaming fan base is like really small in proportion to everybody else that's playing the game. Now, COD, I think it's a bit different. I think there's so much more sweatiness in this game as opposed to the casual gaming audience to the point where it's like, it's just not fun. I'm going to put skill-based matchmaking, honestly, and there's some truth and like, but I don't think there's skill-based damage. I don't think there's skill-based aimbot. I just think skill-based matchmaking, how they do it, is inherently flawed. I don't know how their system works, but it's just not as good as other games that do it. Private game ownership is going to be gone. Yeah, I think that's what they're doing to a certain extent. I think they want to move to a point where you don't actually own your games at all. That's how you get Ubisoft talking about how, like, I think gamers need to be more comfortable with not owning their games if they want the Netflix of gaming. And I'm like, Ubisoft, we don't want you to have the Netflix of games. If Steam wants to do it, Steam wants to do it. And people will bring up being like, well, you don't actually own your games with Steam. And it's like, yeah, but Steam does it the best out of any other, like, corner of gaming. I don't trust Xbox Game Pass. I don't trust PlayStation. I don't trust Nintendo. I literally just trust Xbox, dude. Not Xbox. I just trust Steam. They do it the best. And when you're getting it kind of weird, when you start talking about how, like, even if you own the physical game, the physical disc is actually a key to get into a broader game. So even if you own the disc, you don't actually own the game. And now you're getting into, like, they can absolutely pull the plug on any game that they want if it's even somewhat of, like, a problem for them. Like, I think if you're gonna sell a physical media of the game, I should be allowed to play that game offline. I think if you're going to pull the plug on the game, you should make it so people that want to play it offline can do that. Instead of, oh yeah, you bought the game, but the game doesn't exist. And you don't actually own the game. You're actually just leasing out the game. Like, there was, like, an argument over here in the U.S. that, like, you should replace the, when you're going on a PlayStation store to buy a game, they were going to replace the buy button with a get button. That's part of the reason that you see it with, like, other stuff on, like, the App Store, because you don't own a lot of that stuff. You only gain access to it. And let me ask you this. Would you be less likely to buy a game if they just were honest with you and said, well, you don't own it, you just gain access to it? I'm going to put this in, it's true, I don't think they want people to own their games privately. I don't even think they want people to own their PCs anymore. But I'm going to put it right there. And there you go. Those are gaming conspiracy theories. If you enjoyed this video and you want a volume 2 or any type of video, leave it in the comment section down below. 3,000 likes is the goal. Thank you everybody who watches my content. It means the absolute most to me. We try to make 3 to 4 uploads a week. We go live on Ethan on Live. Still working out a live schedule, but a link to that is going to be in the description down below. Thank you everybody who supports the channel. It means the most to me. 500,000 subscribers by the end of the year is the goal. And again, thank you for watching. Adios, guys.